Okay, you read the title. Here we go again. Foot-pound rating average by bullet type or projectile type, defined as single projectile or main projectile out of specific calibers, which refers to hundredths or thousandths of an inch, and or brand names, varieties. It can also be millimeters, and it has to do with the nominal diameter of the inner diameter nominal value throughout the barrel length. Now I'm being really vague about it on purpose because I'm going to get real specific with a specific case. Here we go. Obviously it's a single projectile. Well, here we go. 135 foot-pounds for a 22 long rifle. This is where this scale is starting. You can also have 22 short, and then my favorites, which are 22 cap gun that can throw a projectile. They're primer, or a primer that's filled up with propellant to drive a BB gun pellet or whatever forward, and it's a 22 caliber version of it. But 135 foot-pounds of impact on a 22 caliber long rifle bullet has the effect of being about like getting punched. But then again, it's in a 1/4 inch across area, so it does a lot more damage than being punched. But then again, about the same amount of damage of you punching somebody while holding a 1/4 inch bolt, and you don't want to do that. 245 foot-pounds for a 17 caliber bullet. How is that done? Well, it's actually a 22 caliber casing necked down to force all of the powder from a 22 caliber nail gun blank for driving nails into cement. Driving a 17 caliber BB gun pellet sized bullet, it's shaped like a bullet, downrange and hit as hard as a nail being driven into cement. And it only gets that much. The 22 WMR is 325 foot-pounds. Your average 9mm runs at about 362 foot-pounds on impact or out of the barrel. These are based on maximum ratings. As you get further and further away from the bullet, from the muzzle of the barrel of your gun, it will be a different rating. Also, these are based on the standard of shooting whatever the hell it is through a barrel after the cartridge of 3 inches. So this is like basically pistol ratings, because pistols technically should have the highest velocity. That's not really true, but you get the idea. And where appropriate, they then ignore that standard and just use an 18-inch barrel or 12-inch barrel, whatever they want to. I mock these things. You should too. Next, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson 420 foot-pounds. No laugh, no joke. Don't say it. Yes, it's the marijuana round. Next, the 432 foot-pound 45 caliber ACP is an example of why I'm doing this. It's a bigger bullet, but it's not much bigger, right? Well, let's look at this one. The 357 Magnum. It's basically nominal 36, 38 caliber kind of thing. It's down below 45, and it has 624. How did they do that? I don't know. Maybe there's more propellant involved, or maybe a longer barrel to take advantage of the propellant, or maybe it's a long bullet with a lot more mass to it, carrying forth more energy that can be stored up by that long barrel and a lot more gunpowder, or smokeless powder, which is what we use these days. 900 foot-pounds for a 17 Remington. 17 Remington? What is that referring to? I don't know, you have to look it up. I'm not going to include all the details. ITAR rules. Then there's the 223 Remington, that 1,200 or 1,300 foot-pounds. 223-556 is .223 diameter. It's a 22 caliber style bullet, but it hits at literally 10 times the impact rating out of the barrel, because it's fired from a cartridge that started off life being something much bigger. and the other one is 5.56 millimeter diameter. Now at the 7.62 millimeter diameter and 39 millimeter long cartridge, or the whole casing, or what is that referring to? It comes out at 1,530 foot-pounds. Winchester 243 comes out at 1,925, just shy of 2,000. 2,354 foot-pounds is the 260 Remington. Then the 308 Winchester is at 2,700 foot-pounds. Then we get the 30-06 Springfield, 2,750 foot-pounds. Slightly above that is our next contender. These are all above the infamous .357 Magnum. I'm not bringing up the 50 caliber pistol rounds here or anything. 12 gauge slug, 2,755 foot-pounds. It's a slug. One projectile coming out of something that's originally designed to fire more than one projectile, and it doesn't have to maintain the diameter of the inside of that barrel to any standard of any kind at once. It just has to be kind of sort of close. Why? Because there's an advantage when you're shooting random objects out of a barrel to making the barrel change diameter as the bullet goes through. There is very little, if any, advantage to do it to any solid projectile. Ergo, 12 gauge slugs have to take advantage of the weirdnesses in a gun barrel. 7 millimeter Remington Magnum, 3,221 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. It's a 7 millimeter. It's just a bit bigger, we're getting bigger than the 5 or 7.62, 308 varieties, but we're talking, like a 40 caliber or something like that, right? Okay. Then there's the 300 Winchester Magnum, 3,500 foot-pounds. Then the RUM 300, 4,000 foot-pounds. And then about 5,000 foot-pounds, very close to it, is the 338 Lapua Magnum. Now, when you look up these bullets, they can be fired. Some of these can be fired out of a barrel, quote unquote, that the cartridge won't fit into. For the same reason that a 5.56 .223 round, like Stephen Paddock used in Las Vegas, is technically just a .22 caliber. Kinda. Sorta. Shotgun sizings for their size rating that they use, the shell, the chamber the shell goes in, the bore, which is supposed to be what the size of round is, even though it's multiple projectiles, versus the muzzle at the end, where it comes out, which can be another size entirely, and then choke tubes, because it's designed to take something that's more like a fluid. Lots of little objects can come out and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So what are the measurements? Well, that's where things get a little bit weird and also a little bit more averaged out. Shotgun size, the naming for it, for gauge, I've already done a video on it, but basically if you have a 16 gauge shotgun, that's based on its inner diameter of the barrel being based on, but not literally matching, what would happen with a 1/16 ounce lead ball made into a round ball, and then figuring out its diameter. That's it. A 12 gauge uses 1/12 of a pound for a round ball. It should go down through the pipe. But that's also including ramming it down the pipe. It should go out of the barrel in a functional way. We'll get to that. But isn't that just squeeze bore? All bores are squeeze bores. Just put that on a t-shirt. A 3-inch 12 gauge chamber starts out, this is the chamber, this 12 gauge starts out as a 81.5 caliber, 0.815 inch diameter at the base, and it tapers down to 80 caliber, or 0.8 inches at the 3-inch mark. But the shell is shorter than 3 inches because it has a crimp on it that has to blow out, and it needs that full 3 inches of space, because if there's any constriction of it, it might do something weird. You want to make it to where the shot comes out in a straight line. And this tapers down from there to the force cone, which shrinks it down to the actual bore diameter, nominally, void where prohibited, some restrictions apply, this is not really a standard, of 72.9 or 73 caliber. So your 12 gauge fires an 80 caliber all the way up to 81 caliber shell to fire a 73 caliber round ball, or a bunch of little shot, or dust. And it's a smooth bore thing, because making rifling on something that's having random objects go through is bad. The 3-inch long equivalent, but not really, 410 shotgun shell, it starts out as literally, that's rating, is 410 bore. It's the only time it actually tells you what the bore is. This works out to around 67 caliber, because it'll take a round ball that's 1/67th of a pound. Chamber starts out at 47.5 caliber, 0.475 inches. Tapers down to 465 mils, that's another word for it, or 0.65 inch, or 46 caliber. And the force cone reduces that down to 41 caliber, or 0.41 inches. Now that bit of information given to you in light of the rest of the information I'm giving does not violate ITAR. ITAR says that if I explain things, free speech, and it involves any kind of weaponry, I can be taken out of commission by the U.S. government, because technically free speech is weaponized. I didn't make the rules, I just try to flaunt them. So here we go. Percentage of lead shot in a 75 centimeter circle at 35 meters, or a 30-inch circle at 40 yards. Real world test is how you gauge, pun intended, the performance of the gun. If it's a shotgun. If it's a solid slug, it's just going to hit somewhere in that area. If it hits dead center, that means it was aimed well, but it doesn't have any rifling, extreme engineering involved. Traditional load of buckshot range is 25 yards, or 22.8 meters, just say 23 meters. Now, how do we fix this? Because we're going to get spread. Well, the idea originally was a choke. It gradually squeezes down the shot with a minimum deformation of its pattern inside of the barrel through a conical portion in the barrel. This can be added in by screwing it in, or bored into it by grinding the barrel from the inside. And it's usually, this is a pseudo standard, whatever the bore diameter is, make it that long times 3 for the cone, and it smoothly tapers it down to the shorter cylindrical choke diameter at the end, 1 times the bore diameter in length. So you can have the forcing cone all the way at the end, or final diameter. No, this is literally not the 410 diameter or whatever at the end. This is another diameter. Getting the standards for this is based on something simple. That is based on its choke number. A point of constriction of the inner diameter of a barrel is based on a choke change of 0.025 millimeter, or 1/1000th of an inch. A 2-point choke reduces the diameter, no matter what the size is originally, by 2/1000ths of an inch. The number of thin slots cut into the exposed rim of a choke tube at the muzzle end might correspond to the Spanish shotgun identification star pattern to tell you how many points, but it's in reverse order. Common choke has a 30-point constriction and gives you 70% of the pellets in a area at those distances. And a turkey choke at 45 will give you 75% of them at the distances mentioned. That's the rating for it. Part 2 coming up. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.